This video is about the effects that grief can and will have on those suffering from it. It'll help students going through grief teach them what to expect from their loss, and it'll also teach parents and or loved ones what to look out for in their kids and friends. But in the video, when I say you, it's referring to those grieving. You might see some of these effects of grief in the life of your student, friend, and even yourself. Due to the effects on you mentally, school may be a different challenge these days. Where you always remembered the assignments and did them automatically, now you may totally miss assignments. You may be mentally gone and not remember what the teacher said. You may experience some of these symptoms during the time you're grieving. Don't be shocked if your grades drop, but try not to let it. I failed at that. Remember that there's nothing wrong with you. This is completely normal. Expect variations in your academic and athletic performance when you're grieving. This isn't a normal time for you. You're not your normal self, but the experience of grief is completely normal. For example, the way I got recommended into the grief group was because I was angry all the time, and I got in a fight during a basketball game at Palm Desert High School. Yes, during a basketball game. My coach recommended me to Dr. Morris, and the rest is history. Grief is one of those things that's just trying to bring you down. It has a calculated attack. The symptoms that follow are grief's strategy to bring you down. This is their playbook. Sorry for the football terms, that's my thing. The following is a brief checklist of practical and helpful contacts, actions that you can take during grief. You can communicate with your friends and parents and teachers and coaches. Let them know that you're grieving and you might need more time or additional help. You may need to change your study habits if they're not working like they used to. If you begin to be forgetful, write something down. Learn new ways to remember your information. Grief has real effects on the emotions, the body, and the mind, and coming up, we'll outline what you can expect to happen to you emotionally, physically, and mentally. Don't expect to experience all of the following, but you'll surely feel a personal and painful combination of some of these during your grief. They're all components of what is called normal grief. That means that if any of these occur during your grieving period, you're completely normal, because this isn't mutually exclusive. Everyone feels a combination of these, and it may be strange or weird for some of you, but just remember you're normal and that this is a normal process. We'll go over the emotional side first. These are some of the emotions that come with your grief, and you have to allow yourself to feel them for them to take effect, to be real, and help you through the process. Sadness. We all experience sadness, and this shows itself by crying sometimes. Few people want to lose it in front of others. Shock. This is when a death or a loss or your source of grief takes you by surprise. Numbness. This is when you don't feel anything anymore. You're just there. Anger. If not dealt with, it can lead to difficult problems, like punching someone during a basketball game. Guilt. This emotion is usually connected with unkind words, feelings, or actions close to the time that the person died or the source of grief took place. Anxiety. That's another one that I suffered from. This can range from minor discomfort to major panic attacks. And it'll also lead to fatigue, which leaves you feeling drained, exhausted, or listless. And that's when you don't eat, or you drink water, or sleep, or do any of those things that aren't healthy for the normal person. You can also feel desiring, wanting to be with the person that you lost. Cherishing places or objects or movies or anything that reminds you of that person and wanting their company. Not everyone will feel all of these emotions, but remember that if you do feel any of them, it's not by choice. Accepting them and using them to help you is the choice. Next are the mental effects that toll your body while you're going through the grief process. Some of them are as follows. Disbelief, not being able to believe what has happened. Preoccupation, this is when you are mentally not there in your mind. Confusion, due to your disbelief and your preoccupation, grieving people may seem out of it or dazed or confused. Feeling of presence, if your grief is caused by a death or a loss due to their yearning to be with the deceased, those in grief may report strong feelings of convictions that that person is with them in spirit. Lastly, there are physical symptoms, and this may be a little bit longer, so I'll try not to bore you all. As with emotions, there's no set pattern for how our bodies will react. These are some of the following physical symptoms that you can experience that come with grief. Dryness of the mouth, hollowness in the stomach or sense of emptiness, tightness in the throat or chest, feeling like the world around you is not real but a bad dream, can't get enough air, weakness in the muscles or lack of strength, no tolerance for noise, and loss of appetite. That's a lot. Because you're an integrated being, your immune system can become weakened during grief, but don't hesitate to get help. There are a few more. Look over this list and see how they could have affected you and affected others. It may help explain some of your own actions. I've told you all about my own eating changes. I lost 25 pounds in a month because of my stress, anxiety, and my own grief. Don't let that happen to you. It's not very fun. Sleeping issues. Grief can make it hard to go to sleep or stay asleep and cause nightmares. So if you have these problems, reach out to somebody to help. Absent-minded actions are basically anyone looking at you and saying, are you there? Are you even in your body right now? But you're not mentally. Withdrawing from others is at some point in the grief process, basically someone's going to appear not there at all. Even if the most outgoing person will sit in their room and play video games all day, or sit in their room and pout, or do things that aren't normal for them. These are all here basically to make you aware of your own grief. Teachers are trained in some school districts to notice these signs. Being aware of these clues can help you and those you love. Remember, you will probably not experience all of these, but it's important to know that if you did, it's not abnormal. Not being normal is normal. Be aware of your mental state and tell people around you whom you trust, because they are there to help. These items above will not all be felt by one individual, but remaining aware of all of these things as possibilities is important so you can watch yourself and others. And let me tell you from experience, finding someone to talk to, it helps a lot. And Tom, he's a pretty good listener.
Now let's talk a little bit about grieving teens and how to find or join these support groups. First, what is a grief support group? A group consists of about 3 to 12 students that meet to listen and discuss each individual's journey in loss and grief. The groups meet from 30 minutes to an hour, about once a week, and they share their emotions, their experiences, and their circumstances having to do with both primary and secondary losses and how they're moving through their lives. These groups are open at all times and gain new members through referrals from friends, teachers, counselors, and in my case, coaches. New people change groups for the better in most cases, and because they tend to revitalize and refocus everyone back to their own original grief. It is necessary to have a culture of respect. The leader sets the attitude by his or her respect expressed to every attending student. The example set by the grief coach determines the accepted type of interaction during each session. The purpose of these grief support groups is to deal with the emotional, social, physical, and spiritual aspects of grief. The main prompters of discussion are commitment to trust and promise of respect that each member makes before we begin. In each group, there are also ground rules. The first one being, members of the group are expected to always be on time. It's also a good life lesson. 2, it's kind of like Vegas in there. What's said in the group stays in the group. There's no exceptions. This is a safe space. 3, everyone gets equal time to talk. There's not one person monopolizing everything. The 4th one is people are free to share what they want and when they are ready to share. No one's forced to say anything. And the last one is the role of a group member is not to give advice. It's just to listen. The leadership in these groups is real, but it's passive enough to allow students to feel comfortable, and it really is more of a facilitation or coaching than leadership in the directive sense. The group dynamics are actually pretty cool as well. Students usually want to feel inclusion, to feel like they're a part of the group and that they want to fit in, that they fit into this group dynamic. Morris has learned that they need to feel like they are an important member of the group. They need to feel cared for by the group, and this occurs when they start to share and they feel supported and they feel respected or even cared for by some of the peers and some of the students that they're with. In the group, a young person is confronted with reality concerning the way that they are dealing with their emotions, their social issues, physical effects, and spiritual ramifications. In the last several years, Morris has seen that young people all have different needs and need to be in these groups for different lengths of time. He's seen some attend for a couple weeks and then be okay. But for the vast majority, they will need to attend for several months, and some attend for several years. For more information on grief groups and grieving teens, please visit the website or contact Dr. Morris directly. Brought to you by the HN and Francis C. Berger Foundation and Bighorn Golf Club Charities.